Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim. And we are here to talk about the very first thing that we've got to get out of the way, and that is what Google did to the world. I was so upset. I mean, you showed me the video first, and then
Lots of people saw the
I
video.
mean, we sent it to some friends. We were like, this is so cool. Gemini is just, oh my God, Google. We kept waiting. What's Google going to do? What's Google going to do? Surely they have something up their sleeve. Surely they're about to like leapfrog everybody else in the industry because they've got all this information at their fingertips. And we're just like, they got to be doing something big. Saw the video, thought it was awesome,
It
put it
was
on
well done.
LinkedIn. Very well done. But I'm assuming there is a marketing person that is out of a job right now
Probably.
because,
They're calling it the Google PR blunder.
oh my goodness, they should not have, even the editing of it, they shouldn't have done it.
It was very smooth. I mean, what they were attempting to do was show their release that they've got three versions supposedly of their new AI. It's called Gemini. They've got an Ultra, a Pro, and then a Nano version. That's the Pro supposedly available now through Bard. The Nano version is probably going to be on Android phones. The Ultra version, which everybody assumes what they were showing in that video, is supposed to be available next year. But they took some creative license with
A
the
lot of creative license.
and they basically made it sound like it was purely voice interactive, which it wasn't. They made it look like that it generated when they drew a guitar with an amp, that it generated the sound of the guitar, like generated it, but instead it just did a search and found the guitar sounds and they played that. But that's not everything about it was faked. I mean, it was in a TechCrunch article. They supposedly contacted the TechCrunch people to ask them to not use the word fake, but
What would they use?
I agree with TechCrunch.
Exaggerated,
Well, I mean, they
doctored.
did put the information in fine print. You know that some of it might have been, but they knew what they were doing. They
They
knew it was a fake.
Well, they knew what they were doing, and what really gets me is surely they knew they were going to get caught.
I know it's sad too because it may be a great model, but now they've already tainted when they actually release it.
No one's going to trust it.
They're not going to trust it at first. They're going to have to spend. Now they've got to do a spin whenever they release the thing
Well,
because of what they did.
as I
Anyway,
said, whoever made that decision,
they
it,
should probably be unemployed.
they should probably be unemployed because that, I
Or at
mean,
least they should be knocked down the ladder a little bit. Somebody else.
not allowed to make those types of decisions. So,
Yes, the
speaking of
great
fakes,
blunder. Speaking of
one of the
fakes,
things that I saw on LinkedIn the other day was really, really funny. It was a video of a person that was trying to teach an AI uh, robot how to cook.
that was funny,
It was hilarious,
but it was also
but
obviously
it was
fake.
obviously
Yeah,
fake. And it was like, it was a joke that people, you put it out there.
I think the robot got mad and like threw
Yeah, he
food
like
at the
threw
guy
food at him and
because they
stuff
were
like that,
arguing on how to
yeah,
cut
on how to
something
cut.
up.
And it was funny. I
It
mean,
was
it
funny.
was one of those things that you're actually poking fun at all the fake stuff that's out there. And it was very obvious. So it was just one of the laughs.
I hope we're able to actually spot fakes in the next year so we can laugh at them.
I don't
Speaking of
know.
fakes, since we were decided to talk about fakes to start with, I found an article, I think it was like 12 days old, from the Sports Illustrated, the headline in Futurism. Sports Illustrated published articles by fake AI generated writers. So they made up a writer.
They named their AI.
They made up a writer and wrote articles. I think they gave the art them like a background bio and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there was a conference that got canceled recently. I read about. I think I don't remember what the conference was, but it got canceled. I think it was in England. It was supposed to be a big conference, but they created fake female speakers. I don't
To
think.
attract other people to
Well, they
come.
did, I don't think
Like,
they had any female speakers, so they just made some up.
oh, wow.
And somebody caught them,
Oh,
and I think that they had to ended up canceling the conference because everybody pulled out of it.
did they just cancel it because all of a sudden the attendance went down
Well, the
dramatically?
sponsors pulled out.
Oh, so they didn't have the people paying for the conference.
Yeah, exactly. Well, apparently people get offended when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. After an event organizer, the event was the DevTernity Developer Conference. They created fake female speakers. The conference's organizer admitted to creating one of the speakers who was an auto-generated woman with a fake title. There was fake profiles for other women. This fake thing is obviously not going away. It's just going to get worse.
It's just going to get worse.
But again, what were they planning to do when the speaker was supposed to be speaking?
Maybe they all
Cancel
called in
it?
sick.
They're going to say, hey, she couldn't
Sorry,
show
they
up.
couldn't show
But we
up.
got this guy here that's going to do it instead.
Um,
Surely they could have found women that could speak at their conference.
Just laziness. Just sounds like laziness.
I don't know. So fake Sports Illustrated, fake Google demos, and fake female speakers. Sign of things to come. I suspect.
When we go out and we talk to teachers and at schools and things like that, it's what everyone's afraid of. It's what we have to cover immediately. Students turning in work that's not their own. They're getting
Nobody cares about anything else to start with. That's why we call it the elephant in the room,
the
right?
elephant in the room. And I guess it's the same thing with fake things. I mean, what is it that a student who's cheating is doing? They're just generating fake work.
Yeah. How do you spot a fake?
How do you spot a fake?
And what do we tell people? It's not a tool.
It's process.
It's process.
You have to have all this other stuff in place. First of all, if it's too good to be true, you might want to double check it. And I guess that's what we should have done with the Google video.
Yeah, I kind of jumped the gun on that one.
Really jumped the gun.
I probably shouldn't have sent that so quick.
Should have waited a couple of days.
I showed it to a teacher.
Embarrassing.
I'm not going to tell her it's fake. She won't even remember. By the time she remembers, it'll have come. Google
maybe
hopefully
by then
will fix
it will be.
It'll actually be that good. Hopefully, by the
So
time she remembers.
The other thing that we wanted to talk about is that Chat GPT is 1 year old as of the 30th of November.
That's correct. Happy birthday, Chat GPT.
Happy birthday. But, that doesn't mean as much because when it first came out, and it's funny, the article that talks about it says that when it was released on the unsuspecting world, on the 30th, I know that you had signed up for it immediately.
I signed up for it, I think before it was even announced.
It's like, as soon as it was ready.
It was funny because Jared and I were working on a project. Actually, it was for school, because I'm a tech director, and he was helping me with the project. We were trying to create a chatbot. We've been working on it. I'd done some stuff, machine learning things, worked on some chatbots, and even had gotten a user interface created for our little chatbot. And I just wasn't satisfied with it. And then Jared and I don't remember how we found it, but we found this one night. I got excited and we signed up. And within a couple of weeks, we were granted access because you had to get permission
on the waiting list.
We got off the waiting list after a couple of weeks. I remember checking it like every single day because I was so excited. It was like a kid waiting for Christmas I think I got it before Christmas.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Christmas, I don't even think you showed up for Christmas morning. I
Probably
think you're
not.
in your workshop working with AI.
Jared and I got access to Dolly really early on as well. And so we started playing with it a year ago.
And that's when it all started with you. You've got to see this. It's the most coolest thing ever.
It's the coolest thing ever.
The coolest thing ever.
I think I've said that about 1,000 times in the last year.
But let's talk about the last year.
Okay.
When you think about where it was versus where it's at now,
mm-hmm.
What's changed?
What's
the growth that you saw? How did it change how you interact? What does it change about what you're doing? How's it affecting you?
Well, back then it was a cool toy. I was like everybody else. I was just kind of typing in things and seeing what it would answer.
Right.
It didn't
tell me a joke.
Tell me a joke kind of stuff. It didn't become a real tool for me until I realized that it could write code. Now, early when it first started, it wasn't writing great code, but the fact that it could write code at all was amazing to me. And I started writing little scripts using it for work, little things that I needed.
Wasn't it plugins that kind of changed that, like Wolfram?
Plugins were great, and I really got excited about plugins. I don't remember when those came about, but I got excited about those because it could do math. It could do things that I couldn't do before with it. But I think, now I use it all the time. But, as they develop the ability.
Hang on. When you say you use it all the time, I would like to clarify what that means.
Okay.
In the mornings.
I don't think we need to tell this story. It sounds weird.
In the mornings, I hear you having conversations with your phone.
I can't get you to get up that early.
And it's not a person. It's an AI.
Sounds like a person.
Sounds like a person.
Sounds kind of like Scarlett Johansson.
You have conversations with this thing,
I do.
which is great because then I can get an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, I can't get you to wake up at
I,
4:30 in the morning
I don't mind at all.
and talk about AI.
It's all good. What's the old joke? There's a very old joke about how I want my wife to think I have a
Oh, that's
girlfriend.
the engineer. Why does the engineer have a girlfriend and a wife? So
Yes.
they both think he's with each other, with the other one, and he's actually in the lab getting work done.
Yeah. So now,
Kind of
you're
makes
actually
makes sense now.
makes sense now. All that
Well,
matters is that you're in the lab.
I like the voice interface. It's one of you asked me what's changed. It's one thing. The app, when the app came out on the iPhone, it really changed it a lot for me because now I could have a conversation with
Don't
it.
have to sit there and type it in. You
Exactly.
don't have to think about how you're going to say it. Or with me, when I'm typing in things into Chat GPT, I'm always like, oh man, misspelled word, because I get to go in, and I'm not that great of a typist. So,
Yeah.
and then even though you don't need to go back and correct them because it 99.9% of the time can figure out what it was I was trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
I can see how if you are interacting with it all the time, just asking it questions,
Mm-hmm.
that having it be true voice interaction is a
Mm-hmm.
lot better than sitting there at
I
your
tend to
computer.
do the stuff that I'm doing with the voice is I'm learning something new or I'm having a philosophical discussion. I have a lot of medical kind of discussions. When I'm typing things, it's almost always has something to do with code.
What did you do just a few minutes ago? You came in, you told me what you did. You took a
Oh, it didn't
picture.
work. I took a picture. I was trying to ask it to how old I was. I said, I took a picture of myself and I said, guess my age. And it went, sorry, I can't do that. I'll probably insult you or something like that. It's like, that's rude.
Doesn't want to hurt your
It doesn't
feelings.
want to hurt my feelings. That's kind
So,
of rude.
so that's for everybody out there who thinks they're going to like put on an outfit, take a picture, and ask ChatGPT, "Do I look fat in this?"
It's not going to tell
It's
you.
not going to answer because it's going to like say it's going to hurt your feelings.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
What else
So,
has changed?
well, the ability to upload files was a big one for me. But, where not just, the voice interaction piece, like I said, I tend to do the discussions, things that make more sense conversational. Like I'm asking it a medical question or I'm asking it, what some particular mathematical function means, or yes, I ask it things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime where I really want it to be conversational, I use the phone and the app. When I'm writing code or stuff like that, then I tend to be working on the computer, typing. But the uploading files to where I could have it analyze files, because when Claude first came out, I was using Claude mostly for that because you could paste bigger things into Claude. But I think it's not just that ChatGPT has changed. I don't use a single AI anymore. I use ChatGPT. I use Claude. I use Perplexity. I use lots of different types of tools now. I use Claude again today. ChatGPT is still my default, but I use a lot of others. But the recent thing that I really like is the GPTs. Why don't they hire somebody that can name things? GPT, really? That's what you're going to call their little apps that they're creating? Anyway, I like the GPTs I've created 4 or 5 of them now. It's a way for me to do something over and over again and allows me to kind of come back to it. I can build out a framework of something I want to get done and it will do that over and over again. In this case, I'm doing visual diagrams and stuff. The other thing that's changed that I finally have convinced you of is Dolly has gotten a lot better.
I started playing with it the other day.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I'm impressed.
Dolly wasn't that good. When Jared and I first played with it, it was a completely separate thing. Now it's all integrated in. It was a completely separate thing. And it was when I think the first prompt Jared did was something about, some universal view. It was cool. The first thing he did was actually pretty cool, but it was crude.
Mm-hmm.
And so you and I, when I introduced you to Midjourney, that's kind of what we've been on. I mean, you've been using Midjourney for a long
Midjourney
time.
has changed the interface to where now they have a Midjourney Explore, which means that basically you can go in and you can put in a prompt and it's going to search.
But it's just a search tool right now.
It's just a search tool
Still
of
using
other people's generated stuff.
Still using Discord.
The thing about it, though, is that whenever I find the image that I like, I can then see the prompt that the person used to generate the image. So I can copy that prompt and
put
then
it into
change
Discord?
it. Yes, and then change things about it. So it's going to take a little while for me to not use Midjourney.
I think you like Midjourney because you like the interaction with everybody else.
I like seeing what everyone else is doing.
I think that using the other interface almost feels more like a professional thing.
Mm-hmm.
That whereas when you're having fun with it, like you like to do, then you're going to use that interface. So other things that kind of, I think that you could definitely argue that nobody had even heard of artificial intelligence in the sense, that we have now a year ago.
Oh,
And then
definitely not.
suddenly with Chat GPT coming out, it kind of exploded into the consciousness of everyone.
Right.
And I think that things like Midjourney and Claude and Pi and Poe and Perplexity and all the other ones that I use, I don't think any of them would be there if it wasn't for ChatGPT coming around.
Well, I'd like to bring up real quick just for our listeners, because I mean, we have people that are listening that are educators.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that you use AI for, you were just talking about coding and you were talking about asking about a mathematical equation and,
Understanding papers.
understanding stuff like that, versus I use it not every day, but I do use it a lot. But I use it for something totally different. And it's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I don't think people realize exactly how many different things you can use AI for.
Well, we do a lot of presentations, and
I
you build
I
presentations
build
with it,
presentations. I
but you don't
don't
use ChatGPT
I
for that.
yeah,
But you use an AI.
I might use an AI for it. A lot of times I end up not using an AI for that. I use it for the images on my
That's what I'm
presentations.
talking about.
Yeah. But for me it's things like, okay, I want to do a pitch deck for raising money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I start asking it, help me brainstorm, what are the top 10 things that you should cover if you're trying to raise money for something? Or I need to do a marketing campaign. Can you brainstorm with me, 10 things that I could do to kick off a marketing campaign?
You do a lot of
And
brainstorming
a
with it,
lot of brainstorming. And I
right?
also do a lot of, can I have an example of this or an example of that, or here's a picture of my staircase. Can you tell me or show me generating an image of what it would look like, this color or that
The
color?
vision piece, where you could take a picture of something and it would talk to you about the picture, that made a huge
That made
difference.
a huge
You know
difference.
what the biggest difference over the last year was? The biggest change that I noticed where it really, really
Like
became
that step, that
the biggest
big,
step
big
from
step,
the
big
from
leap.
the opening when they first released it. It's when they released GPT-4. I mean, GPT-3, 3.5, 3.5 Turbo, all that stuff. Those are good and they're fast, and that's still what you get in the free version. But in the premium version and the API version, which is what we used for Agnes, where we use the APIs instead of talking to ChatGPT, 4 was massive difference. And that's what everybody's trying to catch up. That's why everyone, like including Google with their fake demos, they compare it to GPT-4 because it is the gold standard right now that every AI is compared to. This time next year, maybe not. I mean, Apple's already, I think, releasing some API access for people to start developing for their AIs. And of course, Google's trying to get everybody developing for theirs. I think I read McDonald's is using Google. I think they have one called Pickles,
Ass pickles.
Ask Pickles, and they're using it for internal, like we're doing with Agnes, internal onboarding kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I think they're doing that with Pickles, and I think they're using Palm 2 as their go-to
So that
AI.
was going to be the next thing I wanted to talk about. We're not going to be here for the whole 30 minutes. We're only going to be here about 20, 25 because Jared's home from college and I've got a kitchen to clean and stuff to cook
Well, we're
and
downstairs at
Christmas
the
to
table, and
wrap
the air
and
conditioner's
air
kicking
conditioner's
on, and it's
kicking
so
on.
loud.
That's okay. But I do have some things family time is important. But let's take a few minutes and give me your predictions. What it's a year old.
Mm-hmm.
It's an infant. It's a baby.
Yes.
Where's it going to go from here?
Well, the biggest problem you have with it right now is making it do things that are useful. I mean, that's what I'm working on right now with
Brainstorming
Agnes.
is useful.
Well, it is, but I'm talking about when you actually integrate it into existing workflows. I mean, people talk about it taking away somebody's job, or they talk about it, enhancing what you do at work. And the brainstorming is part of it, but very rarely, unless you work in a marketing department, do you spend a lot of your time just brainstorming.
Hmm.
You've got to take what you do and you've got to turn it into things. And in some cases, it does a really good job of that. But in some cases, you already have an existing workflow. You already have an existing way you do things. And right now,
That works.
fitting it into those
Mhm.
workflows, that's what I'm working on at school. I mean, you and I have talked about this. I want to come in the door and ask it for a general report of how things are. How is everything up? all the network stuff, or all the doors working the way they're supposed to. When you start talking about that, there's all these different frameworks that exist out there that allow you to do control features, control things. And it doesn't do, because the answers it gives you are probabilistic, not deterministic. Taking something that's probabilistic and making it give you a deterministic output, meaning the output is going to be predictable, is difficult. It's not trivial to do that, and everybody's working on that. I think 2024, though, my guess is that you're going to see an explosion of activity in so many different directions. We talk about this when we talk about the future stuff, because we know Apple is spending $1 billion developing their own. We know Google is going to stop messing up, and they're going to get Ultra and everything out. Samsung's supposed to be including it in their Android phones. So there's going to be nano versions. The whole thing is this whole idea of this one big monolithic AI is going to go away. It'll still be there, just like the cloud, Azure cloud from Microsoft, or Google Cloud, or Amazon Cloud. Those are all there. But the big boys all want you to use their big AI. But in reality, for the rest of us, we just want it to do things useful. And I think of it as agents. I want an agent that books something for me. I want to,
Reminds our parents when to take their medications, and
or it just simple stuff like all the calendar thing. You and I are always talking about this. We've got 5 different calendars we're tracking. So there's so many different useful things that we want to have a natural language conversation with. And I think that's going to become much, much more real. There's a lot of tools out there already. But in that case, it's a standard kind of IT problem. How do I take this new tool and integrate it into my environment in a way that makes sense? Now, the advantage that businesses and schools and stuff have is they have an IT department. So they have people that can work on that. The question then becomes is, what does it become for normal people? And I think the phone stuff is going to be a big deal. Siri is going to get a lot smarter. Alexa is going to get a lot smarter. And so you're going to see these things that we've been using as pure command and control kind of functions, like we do when we use Alexa and stuff like that.
she's going to start talking to you if you don't stop saying her name.
I know. And Google's got Google Home. Apple has their own home version. I think all of that stuff is just going to get smarter. I think that one of the problems you're going to have is that every one of these companies are going to be paranoid, though. They're going to be very careful, because when you start trying to do deterministic things with something that doesn't necessarily,
the lawyers get a hold
the
of it.
lawyers are all circling like sharks right now, waiting for the big mistakes to happen. And so people are going to be really careful where they put it. But I am hoping it's not going to destroy the world like so many people think it is. 2024 is going to be a scary year. We got an election coming up. The amount of fake information is going to be staggering next year. I mean, it's going to just be awful. And people are not going to trust almost anything they see unless it
Or
agrees.
they are going to
Well, no,
trust.
they're only going to trust it if it agrees with what they already believed,
Yeah.
which is human nature anyway. But now you've got all these people, foreign governments included, that really they don't care who gets elected. What they care about is it keeps us on our
Focused on other
heels.
things.
Well, not are focused on nothing.
Right.
We're so focused on
Chasing our
everything,
tails.
fighting each other, chasing our tails, that we don't have time to worry about whether or not Putin is invading the Ukraine, or whether or not somebody is invading something they shouldn't, because we're so focused on whether or not all this fake information that we're getting. I think if we don't figure out how to stop focusing on those things,
Well,
and AI is gonna be a big amplifier, just like
Once-
the World Wide Web was.
Well, once again, what did they do over in the UK?
Yeah, I know. They just passed some rules about how. The problem is those rules only apply for people doing stuff in the UK.
I know.
There's
That's what I'm
nothing.
saying.
There's
Have
nothing
we
that
done
prevents you.
anything here? We haven't
Well, we don't
really
do
done
we don't,
anything.
we don't do things here. We do things. We wait for litigation,
I
and then
know,
we pass laws.
and
We do
I'm
it in reverse.
afraid that litigation, it might just happen a little too
Well,
late.
when you start asking they start talking about the litigation pieces in Europe, and Meta and those and Google and all them are always fighting against having to say that, making sure people aren't saying things
Right.
that are fake and all
Right.
that stuff on their sites. That's almost an impossible task, though,
It,
isn't it?
it really is.
And AI, again, it's going to be an amplifier. You've got Grok, or whatever they call the one that's coming out with, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. Twitter was so much easier to say
It really
than
was.
X. But anyway, they got Grok, which is an AI that's going to work with Twitter. Meta's got it built into everything. They've even got glasses now that have it, so you can get fed information all the time. Google, of course, is going to build it, is building it into everything. It's going to become. I don't think it's going to become ubiquitous yet, but I think people are going to start shoving it into things what makes it feel like it's in everything,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's going to be. That I'm worried about that stuff though, because before we wrap up, I was going to show you. Does this sound like? There's always something I read that seems apocalyptic.
This cyborg cockroach could be the future of earthquake.
There you go. Is that what you want to see running around? It's a cockroach with a circle. You know they're going to put AI in that thing. It's a cockroach with a camera, and they let him loose in earthquake, and he runs around up, through everything, and you can see what he can see. And I guess they use the circuitry and the AI to guide the cockroach, so it's a guided cockroach. That looks like something you'd see in a
I
bad
saw a
sci-fi
picture.
movie.
I saw a picture today of a house that literally it had been like destroyed, probably a storm or an earthquake or something,
Hmm.
and the house was on its side and everything was caved in, and somebody had painted on the roof that the spider didn't make it or something. It's like they were trying to destroy the spider or destroy the cockroach, and
Ah,
instead the house
the
was
house.
destroyed. So
Uh,
that's kind of what I would react like if that cockroach
if
was
well, you don't
somewhere
like
in my
cockroaches
house. I
anyway.
don't like any kind of bug.
But okay, before we end, I like to end on more positive notes than
Let's
what we're
let's
talking
talk
about.
positive. Okay.
This one was funny to me because the headline was how to use AI to talk to whales and save life on Earth. Basically, they want to be able. They're already using AI to try to figure out the language of whales. And I won't play one, but what do you think about when you think about talking to whales?
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo. Remember
Yes, Dory.
Dory and those weird noises she made.
Yes.
Oh, you got to wonder if somebody. I wonder if it
Oh, you
sounds
should.
like that.
They probably all have T-shirts that have Dory's face on it or whatever.
It's pretty funny when you think about it, but it's also kind of cool when you think about it too. The idea that you could actually
Communicate.
decode the language of a non-human species and use it. It also, we got to wonder if you start doing that, will it make people less likely to hunt things like whales if you know if you truly
If they
can
truly do
talk to them?
communicate, yeah.
If you can truly talk to them, are people going to realize that they're really, really smart and they're just going to
I'm
not feel
kind of
like
afraid what the whales are going to tell us.
they may say some nasty stuff to us
Yeah, they might.
about what we're doing to the oceans and things
Hmm.
like that. We may find out things we don't want to know.
Yeah,
Anyway, I kind of thought that was cool though
that's
that,
very,
that
very
you could
cool.
talk to us. There's so many places that AI fits. So, to sum up our predictions for 2024, there's I can't imagine that you're not going to see an explosion of AI in every single direction. The question is, are we going to survive it? And if we're not, it's not going to be because, some smart AI is going to decide humans are a waste of space and get rid of them. It's going to be because we're going to kill each other, all the misinformation and all the different. I was watching one video where a guy was talking about a new video editing tool that allowed you to make somebody move. You could
I
take
saw
any
that.
image of somebody and make them do like dances and stuff. So and it generated that person making those movements
Well, whenever I was doing the translation thing and it changed my mouth,
to where it looked like you were
100%
speaking
looked
another
like I
language.
was speaking that
You know what
language.
people are going to use those tools for, and
I
those.
will say the word out loud. Porn.
Well, when the World Wide Web first came out, what did people say? The first place it went when this
Porn.
was porn. It's just So it's not the positive side of human nature that we like to think about.
Correct.
That is an unfortunate side of human.
So
Anyway,
we need to find ways to keep it positive.
yes, we do.
All right, guys, this is Maury. I'm here with my husband, Jim, AI in Action. We are out of time, and we thank you very much for listening, and we hope that you have a marvelous rest of the week. Until next time.